In this video, we will talk about the top 10 not-for-profit startups CRMs in 2025. So let's dive right in.
Growing a business requires a holistic approach that extends beyond sales and marketing. This approach needs alignment among people, processes, and technologies. So if you're a business owner, operations, or finance leader looking to learn growth strategies from your peers and competitors, you're tuned into the right podcast. Welcome to the WBS Podcast, where scalable growth using business systems is our number one priority. Now, here is your host, Sam Gupta.
My name is Sam Gupta. I am principal at Elevate IQ. Elevate IQ is the independent technology advisory firm. We help our clients with system selection, change management, digital transformation strategy. On that note, let's go back to today's topic, which is the top 10 not-for-profit startup CRMs in 2025. Before we look at the list, let's align our expectations in how we define not-for-profit startup CRM segment. In general, these companies have under 20 employees. They are relatively smaller. You are going to have just one person managing pretty much everything. Everybody else is going to follow their direction in terms of how departments need to be structured. They don't necessarily have any sort of need for the consolidation, centralization. They can live with the independent systems and data silos. For the most part, the manual work that will be required in reconciling these data silos is okay at this stage. The systems designed for this particular micro vertical generally emphasize on ease of use, sometimes integration with the external system, collaboration, etc., but they might not emphasize as much on the operational data structure, operational reconciliation, because they don't have those issues at this stage. For the most part, these companies are also going to have very limited implementation budget. They might look to implement this more in the DIY mode. For the most part, when you look at the not-for-profits, they tend to be relatively complex in general, and their needs are going to be very different. They do require some sort of integration with the websites. That becomes the priority at this point of time because they need to process payments, etc. So there might be a little overlap between the CRM systems and e-commerce systems. So some of the CRM systems are going to have the e-commerce capabilities baked as part of that, their model, and that's why their pricing is going to be very similar to some of the e-commerce systems as well. In general, the not-for-profit segment could range, and their needs are going to differ substantially as well. So if you're looking for any specific business model or micro industry, pay close attention to my comments as I cover each of the systems. Also, if you like slightly more detailed analysis, we are going to link the report that is going to have much deeper insights and analysis that is slightly more structured as well than this video. So check that out. The criteria that we have used to compile this list is product share acquisition strategy focused on startups, not-for-profit startups, and product roadmap, community, ecosystem, win rate, technology strategy, as well as investors. So now let's look at the list. Number 10 on our list is Give Butter. And for the most part, Give Butter is a very small system. The way these small systems are designed, they will prioritize integration with the external systems. They are going to emphasize on ease of use. Again, their data structure might not be as layered, the kind of data structure that you are going to find with the other CRM systems that are going to be slightly more generalized for many different business models. Now, depending upon your need, whether you are looking for slightly more prescriptive systems are going to have a little bit of feeling of boxing yourself in a specific business model. But then if you look at the generalized systems, then they are going to be slightly more difficult to implement. They are going to require a lot more budget to be able to implement, as well as skill set. So again, if you're a small startup, Give Butter could be a great option. If if your business model does not extend beyond what they are going to offer out of the box. Now, a lot of these CRM systems for not-for-profit, the way they are designed, they emphasize the fundraising because that's where the money is. A lot of not-for-profit require, especially these startups, they require fundraising capabilities before they need anything else. So the way these systems are designed, they are going to have a little bit of feeling of marketing automation. So marketing automation plus not-for-profit functionality is how to think about these systems. They are not going to have as deep or as layered operational structure that you are going to find with the other systems. Some instance to keep in mind, they have a free version, but again, free versions generally have a lot more layers. So pay close attention to fine lines in terms of what you are getting and how you are going to get your data out of the system. So that could be a little challenge, but they do have the free version that you can try easily. And their customer services is very good. In general, users report that they are very good at customer service. So that's a huge plus for companies that are not going to have as much implementation as well as support budget. Now, if online auction management is going to be a priority for you, or maybe you do a lot of events and ticket management is a priority for you, GiveButter is going to have that functionality. Some of the CRM systems, even if they might be designed for not-for-profit, they might not have these capabilities. Some limitations to keep in mind. Percentage fee, the kind of model they have, it's very similar to Shopify. So sometimes that may be harder to predict in terms of your overall cost, etc. So that's going to be a little con. In general, the scalability and customizability, you would not buy something like GiveButter if you're looking for slightly more scalable, customizable model, because in general, that is going to be prescriptive. They are going to claim that you can customize as much as you like. But generally, what that means is you can probably create some of the custom fields when you are going to get into slightly more advanced workflows where you are going to require layered data structure. That's where generally these systems, these smaller ones, run into issues. And again, you are not going to have as deep security workflow or ability to personalize, etc. So that could be a challenge, and that's number 10. Number 9 on our list is Engage Bay. And Engage Bay is a very similar system as GiveButter. For the most part, it is going to have very similar feeling. It's also designed for very fundraising, marketing, automation-centric scenario. Some strengths to keep in mind. Obviously, easy to implement and adopt, and that is going to be with most CRM systems that are smaller and they are easier to implement, etc. The support, they are also known for their support in general when a CRM system is not going to be private equity owned or it is not going to be a larger company. In general, their support tend to be slightly better. You might get some consulting support with the traditional support as well. That's what users generally appreciate, especially in this segment when their budget is going to be so limited. The landing page and forms builder, that could be a great feature set if you are looking to integrate this with the website and you have to build those fundraising workflow. Sometimes there are challenges with smaller systems because they are not going to have as much feature set the way you might be familiar with. For example, let's say if you have used WordPress, generally for the most part, WordPress is a very small system, but they have much superior workflow from the landing pages perspective. Or if you have to build these customizable marketing workflows, in those cases, if your expectation is going to be, hey, can I find this inside Engage Bay? Sometimes you might struggle with that. You might not be able to find as many options. Something to keep in mind. Limitations, clunky. Overall, that's what users report. Again, this is a slightly legacy system. It's not as new. So check whether you are going to like the user experience or not, but you are going to get much deeper feature sets, etc. Documentation could be a challenge as well. That's what we notice in their reviews, etc. So that could be a con as well. And then the SMS functionality, if that is going to be critical for you, they might not have that. So that could be a challenge, and that's number 9. Number 8 on our list is Keela. The majority of the systems that we have captured as part of this list, they are fairly similar in their design, in the way they approach the market. So for the most part, there is going to be a lot of similarity, whether you talk about the customer service, their design, their landing pages capabilities, or their ability to scale, customize, etc. All of those are going to be fairly similar. So for Keela, some of these trends to keep in mind is, again, their customer service. And for the most part, when you look at these smaller systems, you are going to find really good customer service. Great communication, interaction. For the most part, their reps are very well trained, and they provide very good support. Cost effective, so it's not as expensive. Easier to learn and implement. Again, that's very similar with most systems that we have reviewed so far. And a lot of the ones that we are going to review as part of this list as well, they are going to have very similar capabilities as well as focus. Now, limitations to keep in mind. Mobile app is not as great, so that could be a limitation. If mobile experience is going to be relevant for you, then you might need to look for some other options. Data integrity issues is going to be very common with the majority of the systems on this list, and the reason for that is because their data layers are not as connected. They are slightly more isolated, even though it might look prettier, it might look very tailored for your workflow, but for the most part, the way it is designed, it's not supposed to be as relational as database driven software. Their layers are going to be far more integrated, far more controlled, but then you will not have as great user experience. The implementation is going to be trickier with those as well. They don't have event and ticket management, so if you care for that, then Keela may not be the best fit. So that's number 8. Now, number 7 on our list is Virtuous. And compared to the other 3 that we have reviewed so far, Virtuous is probably going to be slightly larger system. Now, the strengths to keep in mind is best of breed capabilities for not-for-profit. You are going to get the flavored and tailored functionality that not-for-profits generally require, especially in the areas of fundraising, marketing, automation. That's where they are going to be really strong. Sometimes the external integration with the external systems could be very strong as well. They do have automation journeys, so if you care for that, then this could be a great fit. Integrated payment processing, that's a huge plus overall, but again, you need to look into layers in terms of how much they charge, whether you are going to use their payment system or somebody else's. So pay close attention to the contract, as well as the rates that they are going to publish. So that's the strength, but I mean, at least you don't have to spend in the integration of the payment provider, so that's a huge plus. Now, some limitations to keep in mind: higher price compared to the smaller CRMs such as Neon, etc., and the other ones that we have reviewed so far. And the reason for that is because, again, Virtuous is a slightly larger system, so naturally their price is going to be higher. Email templates might not be as user-friendly, but that is something that you are going to find with the majority of the systems on this list. Now, reporting is not as intuitive either. Again, that's going to be very common across the board on the majority of the system that we have on this list. So that's number 7. Number 6 on our list is Classy. And Classy is great for a smaller not-for-profit seeking interaction management platform. Again, very, very, very similar focus and design compared to the other ones that we have captured so far. Now, the strengths that you have with Classy is the integration with Salesforce. So if you are going to be in Salesforce ecosystem, if you look at the other systems, you might struggle a lot more. So for Salesforce users, maybe this is probably going to be a better one. In fact, sometimes the not-for-profit package that you're going to get with Salesforce may not be as advanced as Classy. So with Classy, you are going to find far richer workflows tailored to your industry. But again, Classy is going to put you in a box as well from the not-for-profit perspective. If your not-for-profit business model is very complex, for example, let's say if you have the flavors of construction, maintenance, property maintenance, etc., a lot of not-for-profits have that. If you have all of those, then sometimes that could be a challenge. But Classy could be a great fit when you are going to be in the Salesforce ecosystem. Overall support is great. In general, as we have noticed with the majority of the systems on this list, the support is probably going to be really good. Donor management as well as tracking is, again, one of the features that you are going to find on majority of the systems on this list. The limitations that you are going to run into is the customizability of landing pages. And again, that's a very common problem with the majority of the systems that we have on this list. Some might be friendlier, but for the most part, they are not as good at providing the customization options the way you are going to find with slightly more mainstream CMSs or the landing page providers. They have a lot more capabilities there. More expensive than other startup tools. In general, anything in Salesforce ecosystem is probably going to be expensive. So again, classy is, if you have budget, then you can consider that. If you're going to be in Salesforce ecosystem, most probably you can afford slightly more expensive platform. But if you're looking for cheaper, this might not be the best option. Also, their pricing layers are tricky. They have platform fee, plus they have annual subscription, plus percentage per transaction. So there are too many layers. Sometimes that might be harder to forecast in terms of how much you are going to pay after signing the contract or using. So that could be a challenge, and that's number 6. Number 5 on our list is GlueUp. And GlueUp is also great for a smaller not-for-profit, especially if you are going to seek the omni-channel capabilities. And omni-channel is going to be your website, SMS, etc. Sometimes some companies use WhatsApp as well. If that is the priority for you, then again, this probably may be the better fit for that use case. Some strengths to keep in mind: overall customer support, omni-channel management for associations. So especially in the associations space, you are going to require a lot more omni-channel capabilities. If you have that requirement, then this may be the system that you might want to consider. And then this has slightly modern interface compared to the other ones. So that could be a huge plus. Now, limitations to keep in mind, again, data integrity. Data integrity is going to be a problem across the board with the majority of the systems on this list. And the reason for that is because they are designed for easier implementation, easier interface. When you have that, you have to make some compromises and sacrifices in your data model. That's what they have done. And that's why you are going to have data integrity issues with duplication in context, duplication in different business objects that you are going to have. So that's given with the majority of these systems. And again, this is slightly more on an expensive side, just like classy. So that could be a limitation as well. And then some users have reported technical issues. So that's another con that we have with GlueUp, and that's number 5. Number 4 on our list is Bonchera. And Bonchera is slightly different compared to the ones that we have reviewed so far. It's going to be slightly larger. It is also private equity owned. So in this particular case, you are going to run into some challenges, especially the way their support model may be designed. It might not be as friendly as a platform that is going to be owned by mom and pop. That's in general with the majority of the enterprise software categories as well as enterprise software vendors. But in this case, the Bonterra is also very good. It's prescriptive for not-for-profit use cases. It's easy to use and implement, the kind of feeling that you're going to have if you use this. And then omni-channel communication, including text, is included. So it is going to have a lot more capabilities from the not-for-profit perspective. But again, in those operational scenarios, when you might look for data integrity, etc., that's when this is probably going to struggle. Limitations, price, again, this is going to be slightly more on the expensive side. That's why some startups might not be comfortable with that. Complex customer hierarchies. So again, this is designed for slightly bigger companies. So it might not be as friendly for these startups, especially if they might not have as much IT maturity. You don't necessarily have implementation experience internally in your team, and you don't know why these customer hierarchies are going to be needed. And because of that, you might struggle. You might take workarounds, and those workarounds might fire back. So that is something to keep in mind. That's going to be a limitation. And then they also have per transaction charges. In general, the systems owned by private equity, for the most part, they are going to have a transaction charges. So that might be a little con there. So that's number 4. Number 3 on our list is Donor Perfect. And Donor Perfect is, again, it's a very fundraising donor-centric platform designed for a smaller not-for-profit. Some strengths to keep in mind is their cost, and that could be a huge factor for startups, especially if they are going to be limited with their budget. Ease of use and implementation, that's going to be given with the majority of the platforms that are captured as part of this list. And then obviously you are going to have very rich donor capabilities. That's given with a lot of these platforms, but this particular platform is especially designed for donor-centric capabilities. You are going to have far more layered use cases, far more complex use cases. So that's a huge plus. Some limitations, data integrity, that's classic in this segment. You are going to have that. So Donor Perfect is probably not an exception. In general, the mass updates, batch transactions, etc., these platforms don't necessarily support that. With Donor Perfect, we know that you are probably going to run into issues, but you are probably going to run into similar issues with other platforms on this list as well. And the only reason why they don't support that is because if you started supporting that, then their data model is going to be complex. That will require much more expensive implementation. The design is going to be challenging as well for you to be able to learn. So that's why they are trying to simplify the experience. That's why they make these strategic decisions for their design. And overall, customizability of their forms is probably going to be a challenge as well. So that's number 3. Number 2 on our list is Neon CRM. And Neon CRM is also ideal for smaller not-for-profits. Again, their take is going to be very similar to the ones that we have reviewed so far. It's really built in for fundraising, but they also have very strong event registration experience. And if you are going to be really big into event workflow, a lot of not-for-profits are, then Neon CRM is probably going to be a better fit. They also have membership management, and membership management could be a huge factor for a lot of not-for-profits. And then you have volunteers as well. There might be different personas for volunteers that you might need to accommodate. So if you are looking for all of those workflows, then Neon CRM could be a great fit. Limitations to keep in mind: overall reporting capabilities, customizability, scalability beyond simpler business model, but that's going to be given with the majority of the platforms on this list. So that's number 2. Number 1 on our list is Kindful Bloomerang. And sometimes our ranking prioritizes a lot of different platforms that are very well proven, adopted. We have a lot of logos that we have come across from the customers. So they generally rank higher. And that's why Kindful and Bloomerang, those are 2 different products that have sort of been merged together under one company. And they both have been very successful in general. And they have a lot more successes to prove. And that's why we have ranked them as number 1. Now, some strengths to keep in mind: overall, the move management, donor cultivation, that is going to be given with the majority of these platforms. They are very strong with these capabilities. They might not be as strong with the other capabilities, especially the capabilities that you are going to notice on the other segments. By the way, if you're a startup looking for the startup segment, but we always encourage you to look at the other market segments as well in terms of which systems we have captured there and how that segment is going to be different from a startup. Sometimes you are going to get commentary there as well. So check out those videos. The easiest way to find those videos would be Elevate IQ, startup, not-for-profit, independent review, something like that, or mid-market independent review for not-for-profit. You will be able to find those videos on YouTube. You can always reach out to me or any of our team members if you are struggling to find these videos. But for the most part, when you look at Kindful, you are going to have the easy to use is a factor with the majority of these systems. Then you are going to have some limitations, and that is going to be overall in grant tracking. So grant tracking would fall slightly more into operational use cases. These systems don't necessarily have the data layers to be able to support those grant tracking scenarios. So in general, the majority of the systems are probably not going to support that. Data integrity is going to be a classic problem with the majority of these systems and not necessarily meant for education, not-for-profit. And then they are going to have the similar percentage fee based model, and sometimes the costs are harder to forecast when you are going to have percentage fee. And then they have their own payment as well that is given with the majority of the systems that are going to be owned by private equity. So they have that as well. So that's number one. If you enjoyed this video, we are also going to include a detailed report, as I mentioned previously. So you might want to check that. We publish these videos on a weekly basis, so don't forget to hit the subscribe button. This podcast is also available in the audio form on major podcasting channel, so you might want to check there. And if you have not checked our digital transformation report, you are going to get slightly more comprehensive view in that across many different system categories and vendors and how to plan your digital transformation journey. So we are going to link up that as well. On that note, thank you so much for tuning in. I'll see you in the next video.
Thank you for listening to another episode of the WBS Podcast. Be sure to subscribe on your favorite podcasting platform so you never miss an episode. For more information on growth strategies for SMBs using ERP and digital transformation, check out our community at WBS.rocks. We'll see you next time.